The film starts with a man named Humbert. He is driving and there are some blood stains all over. He isn't in great shape. After a second he says, "Lolita was my adoration, Lolita was my life," and the scene movements to 1921 where we see Humbert's experience growing up. He says that when he was 14 years of age he fell head over heels for a young lady named Creature. After some time, Humbert and Creature were together and had an extraordinary time. One day Annabelle passed on due to a sickness. Humbert was profoundly impacted by her passing and he was unable to fail to remember her. The story returns to introduce time. Humbert portrays that he won't ever fall in love again. Later we see Humbert in a vehicle. He turned into an English teacher. He is moving to another town since he has another showing position there. He will be residing in his uncle's home. Upon arriving at the house, Humbert is educated that there was a fire in his uncle's house. Anyway, his uncle proposed to him that you stay in my companion's home. Humbert concurred and they went there. Humbert meets a lady named Hayes. She is the proprietor of this house. Her better half is dead and she lives there with her 14-year-old little girl. Hayes shows him the house. We can plainly see she is drawn to Humbert. Hayes shows Humbert to room where he will remain anyway. He isn't content with the room in light of the fact that it's grimy. Humbert concludes that he will not live here when he is leaving. Abruptly he sees Hayes' little girl Lolita. She is perusing a book in the nursery. She is totally wet with a water shower. Humbert is gazing at her ceaselessly. Since she looks like Annabelle, at that point he experiences passionate feelings for Lolita since she helps him to remember Annabelle. After a second Lolita glanced back at him. Humbert chooses to remain there. Later he began living with him and began composing his journal. In the interim he follows Lolita whenever he gets an opportunity. On the other hand, Lolita began enjoying Humbert. She comes to his room and plays with him consistently. The two of them partake in each other's organization. Bays is likewise drawn in to Humbert. She needs to invest some energy with him. The following day Hayes took Humbert to a lake for some quality time. She lets him know that Lolita will summer camp and from that point she will go to life experience school. Humbert feels stunned, what's more, miserable on the grounds that he is living there just for Lolita. He isn't keen on his. Later we see Lolita when she views that as she will be going to all-inclusive school. From day camp she feels irate and tells her mother not to send her there. Anyway, her mother persuaded her to go to the live-in school. The following morning we see Lolita is sitting in a vehicle. She is leaving for day camp. Humbert is resting. He hears some commotion and comes to the window. He sees Lolita sitting in a vehicle and Lolita glances back at him. They gaze at one another for some time. Abruptly Lolita leaped out of the vehicle and went inside the house. Humbert is sitting in his room smoothly hanging tight for her. Lolita comes into his room. She embraces him tight and afterward begins kissing him and runs away. Humbert is stunned. He considers Lolita persistently. He can't forget the kiss. Later we see Humbert get the letter from he. She is asking Humbert for a marriage. Humbert consents to wed her since this is the best way to be near Lolita. They get hitched anyway. Humbert would rather not have intercourse with Hayes, which is the reason he gives her dozing pills and tea, and that is the reason she dozes early consistently. In the meantime Humbert is frantically trusting that Lolita will return. Hayes is clueless about Humbert and Lolita. One day, when Hayes is distant from everyone else at home while cleaning, she peruses the journal. Humbert composes everything about his life in that journal. Hayes looks into Humbert's affections for Lolita. She additionally realizes that Humbert doesn't adore Her Humbert got hitched to his so he could be with Lolita. She begins crying some other time when Humbert gets back home. Hayes lets him know you are a sickening individual. She breaks her relationship with him and emerges from the house after some time. Baez is hit by a vehicle while crossing the street. Humbert goes out to check. He sees that Hayes is dead. In the interim, a bit young lady gives him a few letters. Hayes was going to send them to Lolita. Humbert opens the letters and that's what figures out Hayes planned to tell everything to Lolita. He consumes those letters. He is having a miserable outlook on his significant other's demise. Anyway, he is feeling significantly better. That his way is clear now. Nobody can take Lolita away. Later, Humbert goes to Lolita summer camp. She picks her and they are on the way back home. Lolita calls Humbert to father. She gets some information about her mom. Umbridge answers that your mom isn't feeling good and she is in the clinic. We will go to meet her tomorrow and for the night we will remain in. And in while talking unexpectedly, Lolita asks Humbert, you try not to adore me since you haven't kissed me yet. Humbert stops the vehicle and they begin kissing. Later they arrive at an inn where Lolita meets a man named Claire. She conversed with him. Claire likewise converses with Humbert, yet he doesn't have the foggiest idea about his name. Humbert expects that he is a police criminal investigator following him to explore his significant other's demise. Later around evening time when Lolita and Humbert are distant from everyone else in the room, Humbert attempts to contact Lolita and she permits him. They have intercourse and go through some cozy time. The next day, when they are coming back, when they stop at a corner store, Lolita asks Humbert for the phone number of that emergency clinic where her mother is. Conceited Humbert comes clean with her that your mom is dead in a mishap. She feels miserable and begins crying. Later around evening time, Lolita cries like a child in the room and Humbert consoles her. The next morning they choose to go on a street outing around the nation. They begin their excursion. They stay in a large number various inns, having intercourse and living like a couple. In the meantime, Humbert knows that what he is doing is off base and if anybody gets him he will confront a great deal of issues. Anyway, he doesn't mind in light of the fact that he is infatuated with Lolita still, misses her mom and cries around evening time. Humbert comforts her each time she feels miserable. After certain days, Humbert is back on his work and Lolita has returned to her school. They live in a house together and make love consistently. One day Humbert goes to watch Lolita's show where she is performing. Humbert sees Claire and Lolita lets him know that he composed this show. Claire is the very man from that lodging. Later we see Lolita isn't keen on studies and needs to join the theater. She persuades Humbert and asks him for some cash. Anyway, Humbert is troubled with the thought. He is terrified that sometime in the future Lolita could leave him. Later Humbert conversed with Lolita about this and Lolita could have done without it. They begin battling and Lolita goes out on her bike. Humbert follows her to a store where he sees her bicycle. When Humbert arrives at there, Lolita is chatting on the telephone with somebody. Anyway, when she sees Humbert outside, she cuts the call. It appears as she is concealing something. Humbert sits her down and apologizes for everything. Lolita consents to go with him anyway. She needs to go on an excursion with Humbert. Furthermore, she will pick the area Humbert agrees. The following morning they start their excursion. Out of nowhere, while driving, Humbert saw a vehicle following him. He requests that Lolita record the quantity of that vehicle and protect it. Later they stop at a service station. Humbert gets inside the store. When he looks outside, he sees Lolita conversing with a man. He promptly comes out. Anyway, the man is gone. He gets some information about the man. She answers that he was only a lost outsider. Requesting a location, Humbert is persuaded that the outsider is something very similar. Man from the inn. Later we see Humbert driving and notice that the vehicle is still following them. Later they arrive at a lodging. Humbert goes outside to take something from the store, letting Lolita be. When Humbert returns, he sees Lolita as anxious and not acting ordinarily. Her feet are filthy with mud. Humbert knows that she went outside. Humbert asks her, "Where did you go?" To which she answers, "That I was searching for you anyway." Humbert doesn't trust her and powers her to come clean with me, where she went to a clinic. Lolita is conceited to her and starts driving anyway. Lolita is not feeling great. Later Humbert takes her clinic and the specialist lets him know that she should go through the night here. Humbert leaves her there and go to a lodging. The next morning he called the clinic and got some information about Lolita. The nurture informed him that Lolita was feeling much better and her uncle released her from the emergency clinic and took her with him. Humbert is stunned to hear this. He races to the clinic and starts contending with the specialists anyway. When he sees police outside, he is sorry and leaves the medical clinic. Humbert begins looking for Lolita. He thoroughly searched in all the inns where they remained. He finds out that the strange man was following him wherever he remained in every one of the lodgings where Humbert in the most recent express a secretive man was involving a phony name in the inn. Anyway, Humbert perceived his penmanship, which is a similar in each in the scene movements, and we see Humbert following 3 years. He gets a letter from Lolita. She lets him know that she is hitched and content with her significant other, and she really wants some cash since she is pregnant. Humbert had been sitting tight for this day for a very long time. He took his weapon with him to kill Lolita's better half to get his payback for removing Lolita from him. Some other time, when Humbert contacts her house, Lolita opens the entryway. They met following 3 years. Humbert searches for her spouse. He thinks the strange man from the lodging is her better half. Lolita lets him know all that and uncovers the man Humbert saw at the corner store was Claire. He used to meet Lolita. She additionally uncovered that she was enamored with Claire. Later the clinic, Claire brought her to his back home. Anyway, he was not keen on making love with Lolita. He was an unfortunate film maker. He believed that Lolita should make pornography films for him. Lolita dismissed his deal since she needed to have intercourse with Claire, not any more men. That is the reason he thrown her out. Lolita needed to remain away from Humbert. That is the reason she got hitched. Humbert advises her to return with him anyway. She declines to go with him. Humbert gives her some cash and apologizes for all that he has done to her. Lolita calls him father and Humbert goes out. Humbert got some information about Lolita too, which he answered that I don't recollect anything. I have done this to numerous young ladies. Humbert flies off the handle and shoots him. Claire bites the dust in that general area. Later we see Humbert in a vehicle driving, and this is a similar scene that we saw toward the beginning of the film. Police capture him for the homicide of Claire and he is shipped off jail. Later he kicked the bucket in jail following 1 year because of an illness. Lolita likewise passed on following 1 month in conveying her child. The film ends here. Thank you for watching the video.